So we've just started recording this meeting of the Thursday, June 20th, Concord Middle School Building Committee. We've started calling roll. We have Heather Bow, Peter Fischelis, Andrew Herchek, Tim Holt, Lori Hunter responded. Mark Howell, are you with us?
Yes.
Thank you. Pat Nelson is with us. Chris Popoff.
Good morning.
Good morning. Charlie Parker.
Good morning.
Matt Root.
Good morning.
And Stephen Stashewski.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. So we almost have a full house. Great. So we'll start the meeting with the approval of the meeting minutes from May 2nd, May 16th, and June 6th. Let's start with June 6th. Were there any questions or concerns about those minutes? That was the meeting where we approved the contingency, use of the soft cost contingency for the FF&E budget. Anyone want to move to approve?
I'll move to approve. Oh, sorry, Steve. Go for it.
But you can second it, Matt.
Well, I just have one quick note. At the end of that meeting, I had inquired about the kind of services that would be required through kind of post occupancy. And because we had started to use some of the contingency budget, and I guess I'd like to kind of more formally, I don't know if this needs to happen in the minutes, but since I asked the question from last time, if we could get kind of a more formal kind of memo from the team, just kind of outlining the services that are where we can count on included in the current budget already from the post occupancy period.
I remember you asking that, Matt. Do you want to propose that we approve the minutes with that change, that addition?
Yes, thank you, Pat.
Okay. All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Okay, so Alex Anderson, I see you're with us.
Yep. Yes.
Heather?
I'll abstain since I wasn't there.
Okay. Peter Fischelis?
Yes.
Andrew Herchek?
Yes.
Tim Holt?
Yes.
Lori Hunter?
Yes.
Mark Howell?
Yes.
Pat Nelson, yes. Chris Popoff?
Yes.
Charlie Parker?
Yes.
Matt Root?
Yes.
And Stephen Stashewski.
Yes.
So since May 2nd and May 16th were more routine meetings, can we approve those together? Unless there's anybody who has concerns about either of those sets of minutes.
I'll move to approve as well, Pat. One quick note, it does say I had inquired about EPDM and it should just be EPD on the on the Thursday, May 16th minutes.
Okay. So you want to make a proposal to approve both sets of minutes with that change?
Yes, correct. Thank you, Pat.
Very
I'll
good.
second.
Okay. All righty. Alexa Anderson,
Yes.
Heather Bout,
Yes.
Peter Fischelis,
I'm going to abstain. I missed that meeting. One of them.
Andrew Herchek.
Yeah.
Okay. Lori Hunter,
Yes.
Mark Howell,
Yes.
Pat Nelson, yes. Chris Popoff.
I'll abstain. I missed the 5/16 meeting.
Okay. Charlie Parker,
Yes.
Matt Root,
Yes.
Stephen Stashewski. Okay. All right. So we'll move on to correspondence.
Hi there. So we have had 3 emails, well, 3 directly to us since the last meeting. The first was a question about fields and whether we're adding a new track, which unfortunately we're not. The second was from Stand Up for Ellen regarding the signs of the name of the building. And I'll let somebody else comment at some point about that, about how that works and everything. And the last was a question about the postings of our recordings. our recorded meetings saying that ours are taking weeks to get posted, whereas the school committee and select board and others get posted within days. So I will just say we don't always respond to every letter here, but since that gets right into to communications update, which is next, I'll just comment on that to say I was glad that it was pointed out. We don't have an exact answer yet, but we are working on that because we definitely want to try to get those up a lot more quickly. So a thank you to the writer of that for the heads up, and we will work on it. And other than that, there's no further update.
Okay. Well, I think I'd like to comment on the, and I will open if there's any discussion on any of the correspondence, but because we want to respond to the Stand Up for Ellen committee that sent us a letter, and we appreciate their interest and their continued interest in the naming of the building. As I looked at this and I looked at our charter, we really don't have any purview over where or what goes on the facade of the building, how the building is named. So, but once the town decides on what the building is going to be named, or decides the school committee or the school department or whoever is going to decide what signage goes at the driveway and what signage, even the public safety signage that goes around the building, it would be our responsibility to make sure that it's that signage happens. But it's not our purview to recommend signage for the building. That's really out of our wheelhouse. I'm happy to spend a little bit of time discussing this from the committee members if anyone feels differently, but I believe that would be the case, that we do not have the ability to make that kind of a recommendation.
So just thank you, Pat. That's a really helpful clarification, I know, for me and for everybody. From a communication standpoint, for the writers of this letter, can we tell them who they should be writing to? Is that, Lori, is that the school committee or the administration? Where does the signing plan fall?
Yeah, so we've already had a proposed sign from the design team that we approved because the timing was an issue, and we got Ellen's name on there. We know that's super important. And there's no signage on the building itself. It's a sign at the street. But that had to get done. So the design team quickly shifted gears when the school committee made their vote. And I think we're good to go. So.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
Is there any reason that we wouldn't want to publicize what that design looks like at this point?
I guess we could. There's no reason not to. Sure.
I don't see any reason not to share that, what the design team has come up with.
Yeah, I have to figure out the best vehicle to do that, but we can do that.
Okay. So we can now move on to our next order of business, which is the OPM update.
All right, thank you, Pat. Can you guys see the screen here?
Yeah, we can, Ian.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got normal business this meeting here. We've got a financial update, including 2 change orders that have been approved by the TRC, but just wanted to review that with you guys and then go through a construction progress report as well. So we'll start with the finances, the budget update here. So this is the budget summary sheet. On the construction front, we've captured any change orders that have been approved and accepted here in this number, this 960,261. We still have forecasted costs based on potential change orders we've received from CTA at this point, the 397, 462. So those are captured. No real changes in the architectural and engineering costs. I don't believe there's any changes in the administrative costs for OPM and commissioning and other miscellaneous fees. FF&E captures the budget increase that was passed at the previous committee meeting, so that updates this number here to the 1.5 million and change. And then you know, bottom line, we've got same approved budget of 111,516,000. We've got committed costs just under 100 million. We've got some uncommitted costs, which would be the balance of that. And we've got 56 million in expenditures to date. That's construction costs, soft costs, everything all in. And so there's a balance of 55 million in the budget. So,
And could you just remind us what happened with the security line? It looks like it got zeroed out somehow.
yes, I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, but I think security is captured in the technology. It's either in the technology line or it's rolled up into the construction line.
That's correct. Yeah, it's in the construction.
Construction. Yep, there we go.
Thank you.
Yep. Any questions? Any more questions? Okay. Moving on to cash flow. We have squared up all the planned and actual expenditures through May. So those balance out, and then we're projecting forward through the end of the job. We've made it to page 2, so getting closer to the finish line. So this is a distribution of costs from OPM and commissioning, designer and consultants, FF&E and admin, the construction related costs, contingency expenditures, and you know, we capture all of the remaining contingencies in here just as a means of balancing out the budget. And then all the estimated expenditures are in this column. Our actuals are captured here, so that takes us through June, and then we have a cumulative that gets us to the 111,516,000. Oops. Again, the 4.2 million here in contingency is the bid day savings and the bid contingency. So that's that combined number, that 4.2 million.
Are there any questions from the committee? It is exciting to be on page 2 of the budget. And it's more exciting to see the building going up, but totally exciting to be on page 2.
We made it. So contingency usage chart here. This accounts for the change orders that we're going to be presenting today as well. Our budget was 4.5 million for hard cost contingency. We've used about 21% of that to date. We're forecasting another 9% based on what's in the queue. So we've got another 70% remaining for hard cost contingency for construction purposes. And then the soft costs, we've used 30%. We've got another 70% remaining there. So, and that also takes into consideration the FF&E budget changes that we captured last meeting. The TRC log. So we've got the 2 new change orders here, 12 and 13 for CTA captured. We've got the FF&E budget increase that that was captured last meeting, as well as those two change orders from a budget adjustment standpoint. So everything here ties out to the usage chart that we just looked at. And then these were all the invoices and payments that were made since the last meeting in May. So we've got posting to the bridge, Multi Vista is the on-site camera services, and then CTA's invoice number 13 here. Both the base contract invoice, and then the second one is for the change orders, for change order scope, the 306,000. Any questions?
Given
right.
some of these changes are now closing out, how does the schedule variance look?
You're asking about construction schedule?
Yes.
Yes. So that's something that we're still analyzing. You know, we get a monthly update from CTA on their projection of where they think they're going to land with the construction schedule. We think that they're right there with completion near the January 16th date. So that's something that's still ongoing as far as ironing out where exactly we think we're going to land on construction, but everything's tracking fairly well at this point.
Anyone else? Thank you, Ian.
Yep. So change order 12. This is two PCOs, one for some band and orchestra room layout modifications, just shifting an interior wall in the space, and then PCO 52, which was for a vent per new code requirements. So Jen, you have anything to add related to these PCOs?
No, I mean, these fell under, the TRC reviewed each of these and approved them. They were deemed necessary and under the approved cap value that they were allowed to approve. So this has been reviewed and approved. The PCO 41 for the band orchestra room layout modifications was just some in review of the plan. Those two rooms originally had been sized similarly, but given the program and the band requiring more students, we sort of shifted some walls around. So it just required some reconfiguration of electrical and mechanical equipment. So that's that cost there. And then the backwater valve was just a new code requirement. The plumbing inspector wanted to make that adjustment at this point.
So John, the band and orchestra room layout modifications, this was again with input from the program staff.
Yes.
Cool. That's great.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's change order 12. We'll jump to change order 13. So these are two smaller PCOs here. One for sink piping that was captured in an RFI, and then ceiling wall angle modifications. Anything you want to add, Jen?
No, just minor changes that, through the course of the job, just trying to some additional piping that wasn't captured originally, and then just adjusting wall angle for the acoustical ceiling at the windows, just making it longer to sort of cover a gap that was there. Minor changes.
So that's 12 and 13. And that was it for the financial update. So I'm gonna press on to construction. So we've got, at this point, a good portion of the work completed in building C. It's very much looking like a near complete structure for building C. The masonry's done. The interior framing is nearly done. You've got a lot of the HVAC, electrical, and plumbing rough-in completed. The sheetrock is, over 50% complete at this point. The roofing is nearly there. Just some things to button up on the roof. Windows are 80% complete, and you're starting to see finishes happening in some of the spaces. So you've got tape and spackle and of the sheetrock, painting in some of the spaces. So you're really starting to see kind of what some of the finishes are going to start to look like in building C. And they'll continue to progress that along as we get closer and closer to substantial completion. Building B is made good progress as well. The spray fireproofing is 90% complete. All the exterior framing is done. Masonry's nearly done. Roofing's nearly done. They started and have completed 75% of the interior framing. You're starting to see the MEP trades in this space as well, with electrical rough-in at 33% complete and HVAC and plumbing at 50%. The stairs in B have been signed off for use by the trades. They're currently not using them now because they're spraying fireproof in that area, but they are signed off. And then the north elevation bridge, the curtain wall there has been installed. We'll show some photos of that. Building A, the slabs are now complete. Exterior framing is 90%. We've got the loading dock that's still in progress. All the sheathing and air vapor barrier are done. Spray fireproofing is 67% complete. Roofing's almost complete as well. So a lot of the exterior is being completely buttoned up all the way around the entire building. We've got site work ongoing. CC Construction is back on site, running electrical conduits for the PV in the parking area. We've got curb layout in progress, so we're going to start seeing curbing hit the site, and that's one of the first activities for kind of establishing some of the boundaries of the parking area and that sort of thing, and furthering that site development. Other highlights to note: we did go through a pricing exercise with CTA on the PV foundations, and after going back and forth with them a few times, consulting with CMLP, we decided it would be best to not have CTA proceed with any of the foundation work for the PVs in the parking area. So CMLP is gonna plan to capture that in their bid package and proceed through that route. We do have a means of coordinating that work should it happen during construction of the middle school. We have an avenue to have both, a PV vendor on site as well as CTA. So we're in good shape there, but just wanted to report on that shift in thought here. And then technology procurement package is in progress. We're nearing completion of that. The FF&E bidding started this week, so that was a big milestone, getting that package out on the streets. That happened on Monday of this week, and the bids are due July 1st. So we'll have some real concrete numbers for FF&E that we'll be able to sort through and make some selections and present to you at the next committee meeting. So Jen, do you have anything else to add for FF&E or technology?
No, it's just ongoing, like you said, the furniture piece is out to bid, and technology will work to get in front of the committee at the July meeting.
So some progress photos here. The photo on the left is a curtain wall going in on the bridge. So you can kind of see that operation and then lifting the glass into place. Here, this is the elevator shaft on building C. So all the masonry in place, cladding in place, and just needs to receive the glass at this point. But that elevator shaft is shaping up. Here's some interior progress photos. So you can start to see, all the infrastructure above the ceiling in place, and you can start to see some of the shapes and forms with the sheetrock and walls in place at this point. So this is looking at some of the team common areas and walking down the hallway through the corridor here. The auditorium. So this was a big milestone, getting the slab in place in the auditorium. So this was all the prep work in getting everything graded out, getting the insulation and barriers in place and mesh, and then pouring these slabs in the auditorium. So we have concrete floors at this point in that space, and it's the same scenario with the gymnasium as well. So this is the gym space, all the prep work that goes into it with the insulation and vapor barriers, and then putting down the slab itself in the gym. And then this is just another highlight here. This is the skylight that's in the office bar. So nice big window and light opportunity here in this space. So.
And that was something we talked a lot about in the very beginning, of bringing light into the office space. And it's really been nice to see it up and to walk through the building and see how much light it does bring in. So.
Yeah. So that was it. That's what we had for the construction presentation. And you guys have any questions?
Thank you, Ian. It doesn't look like we have any questions. Let's move on to the CMLP update.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Jason.
Great. I am Jason Bulger, the interim director of the light plant. I just wanted to give a few updates this month. Ian stole a little bit of my thunder, but that's fine. So I wanted, no problem. I wanted to mention that nobody did contest or appeal the ZBA variance issuance. So we did receive the final signed variance from the ZBA, which would allow us to put the foundations and canopies into the setback a little bit. So we have no restrictions there and can move forward with the plans as designed. Oh, and Ian, you still are sharing your screen. We've communicated our needs to CTA and Griffin and the other contractors. Jen and Ian have been great helping us get that done. And we believe that they have everything that they need to make sure that we have the conduits go into all the canopies and that are planned, and then also the manhole system that is going in near the transformer that will allow us to tie in the conductors from the canopies, the rooftop, and the energy storage device, along with the line power and the school's wiring. As Ian mentioned, we did receive a quote back from CTA on the foundation for the canopies. These are very large foundations. They're 48 inches in diameter and between 17 and 23 feet deep. So they're very large. And that did come in very high. And based on our conversations with SDA and others doing construction today, we feel like this price is just very, very high. And, you know, we also are concerned about the schedule of the building. We're trying to do as much as we possibly can to not interfere with that. So we're going to hold off for now and include the foundations in the actual canopy bid package. We did update the light board as well last week. I think we met on it was on the 12th. And they were very supportive of just maintaining flexibility to not interfere with the project and make sure that we got the best project, you know, while not interfering, and also in the best interest of the ratepayers who are financing this. We've been working with Mary Bolso and Michael Hale and the staff at CMLP to put together the bid packages. So we are going to bid this as 3 separate projects for the energy storage, the rooftop, and the canopy. And we've been working with Belmont and some other towns who've recently done solar and energy storage on school sites to compare kind of the framework of our RFP with what they have done. And we've worked with SDA, who's been advising us this whole time on making sure that we include as many things as possible in those bid packages so that we ensure a successful project and don't have to go back and change anything and don't interfere with anything important on the school construction, like the roof or the membrane. I've been in touch with council, 2 separate councils that the light plant retains on procurement methods. As you know, there's a lot of different rules surrounding that from Chapter 164, which light plants can do for energy projects. But then we have different procurement that comes into play when you look at touching a public building. So we feel like we have a pretty good idea for a path forward on these bids and the different procurement methods that are available to us. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is I'll take off my light plant director hat, put back on my CTO hat. People might have heard about the fraud that occurred in Arlington and Orange surrounding large public building projects. These towns were basically sent fake invoices with different routing numbers, and through sort of social engineering, were convinced to pay out hundreds of thousands of dollars to projects fraudulently. And I just wanted to mention that, you know, we're aware of these. We feel like we have a lot of controls in place already to prevent such things from happening. This project is a ripe target because it's in the public awareness. A lot of information necessarily is transparent about what's happening and at what time. And so sometimes people can use that information to very carefully construct, you know, messages to internal folks like in the Treasury office to say, hey, you know, I'm working on this project, I'm with this vendor, and all that might add up. And so they're much more successful sometimes at convincing people to change payment details or reroute things to a company that doesn't exist. And so we do have a lot of controls in place. We've talked about this and we've reinforced it to staff. We do have a policy of, you know, reaching out to people that we know via the phone if anything suspicious changes. So I just wanted to mention that we're aware of it and that we feel like we've addressed that risk. That's all I have for this month.
Pat, I just might add in, Jason does the CMLP portion of that. Gail's doing a really amazing job of that for the entirety of the project. So no bills get paid unless Gail's okayed them and she knows what's real and what's not.
That's very comforting. I never had a moment's doubt. Didn't even think about this. You know, it's one of those things that couldn't happen here, but it's nice to hear that.
Given our ransomware attack over here, I don't know if I'd say that. So we're trying to be extra diligent.
Thank you, Jason. It's been great having you on board the project. Charlie, I see your hand up. Is this about the CMLP?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
So going forward, is there any possibility that we're going to see the total aggregate pricing come in well above 7.5 million? And is there any consideration or any discussion as to dropping the canopy part of the strategy out of the plan? And would that be possible if need be?
Well, from a technical perspective, it's possible, but from a net zero perspective, it's not. So if we want to maintain the net zero claim on the school property, then we would still need the canopies because the rooftop just does not have enough to power the whole school. Now, I do know that a lot of assumptions were made when we designed the arrays without really knowing the energy load for the school. So it was kind of overbuilt a little bit. I think there is some possibility to lower. I believe our estimates right now are about 15% that we're in excess of the net zero. So there would be an option to maybe drop one of the canopies, not all of them, but one of them. So I think that, it's helpful for us to bid this out, both from a procurement perspective, but also to allow us to sort of itemize the different areas. I do think that, if it comes in drastically over and there's no choice, we'd have to look at augmenting that solar somewhere else so that we could, still maintain the claim of net zero. But we're hopeful that that's not going to happen. The estimates that we received from CTA that were very high, they're using a subcontractor to actually install all of the footings. And our team works with that subcontractor routinely and knows what the price of footings is. So I think that we're pretty confident that that right now is not suggestive of the total price yet. But obviously we won't know that until, the bids go out or the bid hits the street and then people come back to us. So we're aware of that, and I think that's something we need to think about and be prepared for. But right now we're still optimistic that we can hit the target.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Matt?
Sorry, Jason, maybe you said it and I missed it. Do you have a targeted date on when you expect to release the RFPs?
That's a great question. We're hopeful that we'll be doing this in July. So, not in the next 10 days, but hopefully shortly after that. It's a pretty long process, and the RFPs themselves are going to be dozens of pages long, and we want our council to vet them, and we want Gail and everybody on the project to feel very comfortable that their risks are addressed with all this work. So I think we'll be ready to have a document in the next couple of weeks, but I think then it's just kind of a question of review time for all the various parties. We'll want really everybody involved in the construction to at least see it and sign off on it.
Sure, it's a lot of work. Thank you, Jason.
Okay, if there are no more comments, do we have any new business to discuss? Anybody have new business for today's meeting? Okay, and we're going to go to public comment. We don't often get a lot of public comment at these 7:30 a.m. meetings, and we're really happy to see people here today. I just want to remind everybody that we don't engage in discussion during our public comment period, but we are listening. This is a listening time for us. And each public comment gets a 3-minute, is asked to keep to 3 minutes.
I tried to raise my hand before public comment began to.
Oh, okay, sorry.
New business. Do you mind?
We can circle back to your new business, Charlie.
So, at the last meeting, we discussed instruments and some additional spending and the fact that we would put the deliberation on that request or requirement or, need to a future time. I think it would be helpful if we had a written proposal that details alternatives, financials, and so forth before we have to, engage in discussion. I know the last time around we had a pretty brief piece of documentation for our discussion. I think it would be helpful this time to have, a complete, analysis, something in the form of a letter or whatever. So I'm just making that as a request.
Yeah, Charlie, I'm happy to put that together. I've been in touch with the music staff and listening to some of their questions, and I can share those with all of you, and it'd be great to keep that dialogue going.
Yeah, the numbers can get confusing in terms of what's in and what's out and what the history was and so forth and so on. So that would be very helpful. not only to document it, but to help us make the decision.
Right, and just for transparency, one of the items that did not get funded is a grand piano, so I gave them permission to fundraise, and they're actually asking the community if there's a donation out there before they fundraise. So if you see that out and about, it's the first, the cost of that is about 100,000, which was in the budget, so we're gonna let them go and see what luck that they have, but I'm happy to put the whole package together so you can see the whole scope.
I saw
Yeah.
online they might have secured one.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. So we'll
They
keep you
might think.
posted on that too.
Yeah, that's great. That would be great to get a donation of a grand piano, and I'm sure someone would like to get it out of their living room somewhere. Okay, so public comment. I'm going to start with you, Michael. You could just state your name and your address.
Thank you very much. Michael Williams, 1284 Sudbury Road. I am profoundly disturbed. It was the Robbins House, the Friends of Ellen, and the DEI Commission's understanding that the Concord Middle School Building Committee had some oversight of the design and signage, and if we're incorrect in that, our apologies, and we'll take our questions and concerns directly to the school committee. In addition, I have to say that I'm alarmed, almost outraged, that after a months-long campaign that was contested, after twice contravening the will of the town as expressed through 2 votes at town meeting, our school committee would move ahead with signage and a design without considering the other obviously interested stakeholders that are involved and clearly concerned about how our citizen Ellen Garrison will be portrayed in the building. Again, I understand this is not the venue to continue this discussion, but I'm profoundly disturbed that the discussion has been circumvented without any further input from the town. So I just need to register that, and we'll take our further concerns directly to the school committee. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing your concerns. Craig?
Yes, it's Craig Miller, 27 Lang Street. I'll just use this as opportunity as a forum since interested parties are here. If it seems to me unlikely that there would be insurmountable barriers to providing additional signage beyond I haven't seen it, but beyond the sign at the roadside indicating where the building was. I mean, there's lots of buildings that have that at the roadside, then on the building itself, there's the name. And which is what Mr. Williams proposed. So I would hope that, well, I can't understand how there would be, again, I guess specifically to Dr. Hunter and the school committee, how there would be insurmountable barriers to additional signage. I appreciate the signage you've made, the decisions you've made. However, I believe that there's room to go forward. And the fact that since you've made that decision doesn't mean that all future decisions or additions need to be off the table. So that's my thought. Thanks.
Thank you, Craig. Are there any other public comments? Okay, then we will move on to next steps in our next meeting.
And next meeting is July 18th, Thursday, July 18th.
Okay. And do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Anybody want to
Seconded.
second that idea?
Second,
Second, okay. And here's where I always forget. Do I do a roll call for adjourning or do I just say we're adjourned? Okay, we're adjourned.